Good afternoon, Bangalore. I hope you're having a good time. So I have with me Mr. Nyogi. He's a seasoned veteran of, I think, 25 years plus of industry experience. And he has worked in different capacity as COO, CMO with some of the renowned organizations like Reebok, Dabur, Religare, to name a few. And I think his experience is not only restricted to India, he has worked extensively in many of the Asian countries. I think after working for long, I think he started his own venture, co-founded this, and trying to help a lot of startups, SMEs, the digital entities in terms of helping them keeping pace on the escrow activity, which is one of a very critical when it comes to a transaction where there are multiple parties involved. Thank you, Mr. Nyogi, for joining us.
Thanks, Mohit. Thanks, DNB.
Spending your precious time with us.
My pleasure.
I'd like to seek a question from you for the benefit of my audience out here in terms of how do you see that you are creating a differentiation by a digital experience on escrow? Because we all understand escrow from the traditional perspective. And how does it really create a difference for the startup community?
Right. No, I think, first of all, thanks for having me over. And since you're a banker, Mohit, and a lot of seasoned bankers, I would imagine, are in the audience, with one large bank being a principal partner here. You see, escrow is not a new concept. I mean, it's an age-old concept. But I think if you look at the entire process of getting an escrow today or getting an escrow account opened with a bank or a legacy institution, it involves a lot of manual work, paperwork. If I were to take the liberty of using a term, it's slightly cumbersome. So for a business which is digital first, a startup, mid-market, emerging business where agility and speed is the key, we decided to actually digitize this entire process. So what we've done is, we fundamentally digitized escrow banking, and we take pride in the fact that we were pioneers in it. And obviously at the back we have a lot of large banks, institutions, backing us. So like any other fintech, what we've done is we've created a seamless digital platform which integrates all the moving parts and fragmented parts, stitches it all together for a singular holistic experience for the customer. So we are a B2B focused business. We are not B2C focused. So when we work with startups, we work with emerging companies and any mid-markets or MSMEs. If they need a digital escrow solution, we provide them that.
I think, sir, what will also help the audience to understand is if you can share some use cases.
Sure.
And maybe some of the transactions, maybe without naming your clients, just to help us.
No, happy to name clients as well.
And help people correlate some of the stuff that they can take it from here today's discussion.
See, I think, first of all, the market itself is evolving. Okay, price discovery is yet to happen fully. The other day somebody asked me a similar question, that give us an example of some use cases. So I tell them that, look, we can broadly give you multiple use cases, but every day is a new experience for us, because escrow as a service or escrow trust as a service was non-existent till the time we pioneered it. And the good news is, last 2 years, a lot of new startups, new businesses have come in. So the category which we evangelized, or we started evangelizing, and we, with all humility, we say that, has actually seen a lot of action in the last 2-3 years. So the category is expanding. And every day or every month, we see new use cases coming to the table. So wherever there is any contingency of collection or payment, we step in with our digital solution. But broadly, if you were to look at the transaction types that we are active in, these are essentially three. One, as I call it, is a classical escrow use case where there is a buyer, there's a seller, and there is any contingency involved. There's a platform merging this. So let's say you are a B2B commerce platform and you have buyers and sellers on your platform. There is some kind of contingency involved. You, in order to introduce a layer of trust and transparency in transactions for your underlying stakeholders, want an escrow solution, so we step in there. So that's one kind of a use case akin to what platforms would offer to their underlying stakeholders. The second, transaction type, Mohit, could be something like what I call a collect and split use case. Okay, so let's say an NBFC or a lender or a lending platform, a lot of digital lenders, and I think there are some digital lenders in the audience as well, as I was told. non-collateralized lending or cash flow based lending or conditional lending has become really very important, or systemically important and relevant these days. So when they collect in the escrow and then they split. So for instance, to give you an use case, let's say invoice discounting or receivable financing. I'm a lender, you're the borrower, and you as a borrower are working with, let's say, Cat 1 or Tier 1 anchors. Okay. So basis your relationship with the Cat 1 or Tier 1 anchor, I as an NBFC extend a line of credit to you. Okay. But when the collection is happening, instead of the anchor paying into your account and repaying that and you repaying that to me, I as an NBFC want to securitize my collections. So I take the collection from the anchor directly into an escrow. There's a split that happens. So, and this is very typical even in case of, let's say, franchising. Let's say a mid-sized small franchising company, which maybe does not have the luxury of a large F&A team for reconciliations. They want to secure their reconciliations or their royalties. They collect in an escrow. So this is a second kind of a use case or a transaction type that we are in live with, which is called collect and split. The third one is, as we call something like a collect, hold, release sort of a use case. Okay, let's say there's a crowdfunding platform, or let's say there is a revenue-based financing platform or an investment platform where you have investors on one side, individuals, investors or entities. You have the platform in the middle, and then there's an investee company. So you pool in the money into not on your books as a platform, but into an escrow account. Once it's aggregated, then you push it to an investee company or a target company. And let's say in case of revenue-based financing, when it's a returns are coming out, which is going as a coupon to the investors, it falls into the escrow account. You aggregate it there, you hold it there, and then you send it out to the investors. So these are three broad transaction types. And we also do, a special situation escrow for real money gaming platforms, which is more like a tax shield. But again, that as a sector, most of our banking partners and us are not very bullish about, because there is this gray area, because whether you're a game of chance or a game of skill. So some of us are a little circumspect, but wherever we feel that there is a game of skill and it's not a game of chance and there's a solid legal opinion backing that, we also do digital escrows for real money gaming platforms.
I'm sure our friends at SBI would be looking to latch on you in terms of having your account, because whatever escrow you do, eventually the float will land with them.
So coincidentally, I don't know who's from SBI here, but I met a few gentlemen. Oh, ma'am, we'd love to chat. But I met the startup team yesterday, coincidentally, in Gurgaon. So we currently work with 6 or 7 other banks. But SBI is one relationship we are very keen to initiate. So we'll definitely connect offline. And I'm sure, because at the back end, ultimately the consumer trust or the customer trust comes, as I call it, from the large commercial banks. Because ultimately, we don't hold the money in our books. It's held securely in the banking backbone. What we've done is created an OTT layer, as I call it, on top of the banking backbone. So what we've done is created an ecosystem of banks, of regulated entities, PGs, trusteeship companies, and stitched that all together in the form of a seamless digital experience.
So Mr. Nyogi, I think you yourself being a startup in a way and creating a disruption for well-established players, largely the banks who used to run escrow for
I'll answer that. Yeah.
So what has been your key, one single biggest challenge so far that you have seen in your journey so far?
So I'll answer that, but to answer what you just said, banks are not our competition. Banks don't. So initially, I'll be very honest, when we approach some of our partners who we work with, they actually thought ki boss, tum kya karoge? This is our domain, yaar. But we said that look, as a fintech, our fundamental is collaboration. Because ultimately, we cannot make this happen without banks. So what we do now with banks, we are not competing with them. What I call it is we co-creating.
Was that your biggest challenge to start?
101%. 101%. I think it took us a lot. It took us almost 1.5 years to convince our first banking partner that what we are doing is actually a win-win. Because ultimately, the float comes to the banking partner. We earn a small transaction fee, right? And it's a co-creation model, as I call it. So anyway, that's my first answer. And sorry if I'm sounding defensive, but there are esteemed, seasoned career bankers sitting here. I don't want to antagonize them because they are my potential partners. So anyway, on a lighter note, but on a more serious note, I think, look, the single most learning as a startup, because, I came from a solid, conventional corporate leadership or corporate background, right? But then when I started out, I think what I learned was 2 or 3 things. One is, and I'm a big fan of cricket, and I guess most people in India are, you have to play it like a T20 match. You have to prove yourself every day. And you have to hustle. There is no other alternative. Hustle is the name of the game. Every day is a new day. You have to keep hustling. And that's the way it's going to be.
That was actually my next question in terms of sharing your insights with our startup community, which is there out.
Yeah.
And maybe hustling is one thing which you said.
Yeah.
Anything that probably you would like to share as an experience with our folks out here from the startup world, which they can take as a lesson that you have learned and the same mistake they should not do again?
See, I think one is hustle. The second is collaboration. I think, and one of our values as an organization is, we call ourselves DIET, diet, diligence, innovation, empathy, and teamwork. So teamwork is the most important thing, and teamwork not just within your ecosystem or your own team, but with players in the ecosystem. And today, we wouldn't have been, it wouldn't have been possible for us to make this come alive if we were not collaborating with banks, with legacy institutions, etc. So be open to collaboration, be open to partnerships, and I think it's all about also, very importantly, the devil lies in the detail, right? So I think I for detail is very critical. And secondly, I think when you say innovation, nobody is expecting you to really creating something which is out of the box. But even if it's you're replicating something, do it well and execute well. Because strategically you may be thinking very well. Strategies are very important, but an idea remains an idea till the time it's not executed. So execution, day in, day out, hustling, and treating every day like a T20 match is what is going to be helpful for you. That's my 2 bit.
Very insightful, Mr. Nyogi. And considering that we will shortly be running out of time, I would rather leave a couple of questions to be coming from the audience, so that probably they really exploit your experience well. So anybody who wants to ask a question to Mr. Nyogi? There is a gentleman there.
Thank you, Mr. Nyogi. It was very useful. If you could share with us, what are the fees like for an exercise like this?
Sorry, what's the fee?
The transaction fees.
Yeah, so, obviously, we can talk offline about our monetization model, but, fundamentally, we divide our, monetization strategy into 2 parts. One is a one-time solution fee, because, ultimately, what we are doing is, when we are saying we are offering escrow as a service, there's a strong layer of solutioning and customization that we bring to the table, right? So there's a one-time solution fee for providing the stack and the solution, and then there's a transaction fee. We can discuss offline, we can have a chat. If you have a specific question, we can look at that. But all I can tell you is that, with the kind of benefit that we bring to the table, we are quote unquote very customer friendly. And in terms of the fee and the pricing as a category, I would imagine that, or I'd like to believe that price discovery has not yet happened, because it's a new category per se, and every day is a new learning for us. But happy to discuss offline.
Hi, escrow is primarily about trust, right? So
yeah.
How about putting this data in a public ledger, verifiable, making it a little more, how do I say, trustworthy? Yeah. And what's your tech stack like?
So we, when you say tech stack, as in, you want to understand what is our tech. So we, as I said, we've created a digital platform. Okay, we've stitched all the elements and the moving parts together and created an interface for enterprises, businesses, and startups.
And on the public ledger part?
So we are thinking about it. This is something, so there are 2 elements that we would definitely want to incorporate. One is, with the help of blockchain and other elements. So that is work in progress. And clearly going forward, that is one area where we feel will really create a lot of transparency and add to the transparency of this particular service that we are offering. The second is around arbitration. So today, we are a plugin into businesses, platforms, companies, NBFCs, etc. But honestly, at this point in time, there is no arbitration mechanism. We don't do the heavy lifting in terms of arbitration. But that, as you would reckon, becomes a very important element. So tomorrow, you know, as we as a platform are also evolving and as a stack are also evolving, we would definitely want to look at elements like arbitration as well. So blockchain, arbitration, AI, immersive technologies, where all these services, when they put together, we are able to have a clear line of sight of our businesses from the perspective of their cash flows. Because, you know, one of the things and our vision, you know, as a company is that we would like to see all our clients grow anxiety and worry free. Today, if you look at a startup or an emerging company, and we are also an emerging company, you know, the two concerns are the two C's, you know, and this is WhatsApp University, not my spiel. WhatsApp University told me that, you know, there are 3 or 4 C's that all startups and emerging companies look at. One C is cash and collections, right, which is where we operate. The other is capital. So obviously, when we evolve, tomorrow, like any other neobank or any other sort of financial, and I don't want to use the term neobank because it's a very sort of an oft abused term, as I would call it, but like it or not, we are also like one. And as a financial services enabler, we would also like to create a ring of VAS around our customers. So once we have a line of sight in terms of what people are doing in terms of optimizing their capitals through an escrow, etc., we'd also like to offer, you know, other products and services. So coming back to your question, as the stack evolves, we will obviously add elements around technology, arbitration, etc., plus also add a layer of other services and products around our core products. So we'll enter through an escrow as a service, then obviously keep adding to our layer of offerings to our customers.
Thank you.
I hope that answers you. So thank you so much. And thank you, Mr. Nyogi, for traveling
Mohit.
all the way from Delhi.
Thank you.
And addressing
My
our
pleasure.
audience. And we look forward that your venture becomes one of the most successful ones. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks a
guys.
lot. Thank you.